Good morning. It is Thursday, second PR Bites of the week. And I hope you found that interesting, the sort of deep dive I did on Tuesday where I was looking into doing live real-time rebuttals when you get criticism that is coming out and you're responding to it in real time. If you do have any questions or examples on that you'd like to share, then you can always reach out to me, Richard Midson, M-I-D-S-O-N. And don't forget also, I had a little exercise in there as well. And there's obviously the print version. Gosh, that shows how old I am. There's the email version of the newsletter, which I basically read in these podcast episodes. So if you want a bit more time to kind of digest things and to follow things through, then it is always worth signing up to the newsletter, which you can find if you go to the publicrelationspodcast.com and click on the newsletter button. Right, let's have a look at what I've got for you today. I've got a bit of a concerning story about the threat of AI tools and reputation management. Also some stuff about how to use AI better and some examples of how PR, I think, needs to permeate all aspects of business. There's a book recommendation for you as well. And I've got a fictional scenario for you to have a bit of fun with your PR head-on as well. So let's get on with this. It shouldn't take too long. I've only got a few things to say on each of these today. So let's go through it then. Starting off, there's a German journalist called Martin Bernklaus. I hope I said that name right. But he recently experienced a real problem with one of the main AI tools out there. And it really kind of serves as a wake-up call if you focus on reputation management. Because when he searched his own name, the AI bot falsely labeled him as a child molester, a drug dealer, and a psychiatric escapee, mixing up his reporting of criminal cases with his personal identity. Now, worse than that, the tool published his real address and phone number, showcasing just how damaging AI-generated errors or hallucinations can be. And this isn't an isolated incident. There was one in Australia. Another AI bot falsely accusing a local mayor of criminal activity, and in the US there was one with a radio host who was wrongly implicated in embezzlement. The problem is you're unlikely to be able to sue anyone for defamation because it's a bot. And actually getting the data removed can be incredibly hard from a purely technical point of view for the people behind the AI bots. Because the only real way to do it is to remove all your data, any reference to you at all. And that means, if you're relying on any kind of search engine optimization in effect through the AI bot, could be incredibly damaging too. So it does once again underscore the importance of vigilance. You know, when managing a client's online reputation, monitoring AI outputs, responding swiftly to inaccuracies, and understanding the legal landscape as well around AI and defamation is going to be crucial in the next few years in protecting clients from potential AI-driven damage. And you can see how people, at the moment, you can't do it, right? Literally, this is an interesting point. I should bring this up. At the moment, I can't upload something to ChatGPT and say, here's an article about someone I want to criticize. It won't do it because it basically considers it unbacked up evidence. But in the future, this could happen more. We just don't know yet. But anyway, it's an area that clearly, from a PR and comms point of view and reputation management point of view, people have got to keep a careful lookout. On the AI side, I mean, I think you know that I'm a big fan of AI and using it, even though I think there's some massive frustrating limitations with it still, and not just from the one I just mentioned. But there is a new course out which Google's doing on how to write more effective prompts. It's hard for me to say it in the podcast episode, but if you're a member of the newsletter, if you get the newsletter sent to you as well, I've put a link in there so that you can actually go to that course. It's a completely free course. I haven't done it yet. It's on my list to get to. So if you do it and find something useful in there from a PR perspective, do let me know. Usual place, Richard Midson on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear what you find, and let's get that in the podcast too. This was an interesting one. I think with PR-led marketing, which I'm always talking about here, is that it can't just be about sending out stories and managing relationships in terms of media or social media or influencers. It's got to be across a business now. It has got to be a PR-led focus on communications. And it's got to permeate everything from, like support to every message you put out. And this struck home with me because I recently reached out to two different experience venues. And I needed to know what time both of them started their activities. And one of them replied with an email which literally said 08:30 a.m. And that was it. That was literally all they replied with. And the other one replied that we have a whole selection of times with different options that you can do. What sort of experience of this particular type were you interested in doing? So it was warm, it was friendly. In other words, one of them, even though it was clearly a stock answer, showed interest in me and what I was interested in doing. And the other basically said, I'm bored of your existence, and I'm not even going to give you more than a very fast response. So when we're talking about building relationships with the public, it is not just about press relations. It's about having a relationship at all levels of an organization, because it's going to send out a really strong message. If anyone comes to me and says, would I use that other organization? What am I going to say? I'm going to say they're a rude bunch of insert word. Moving on quickly before I get even more frustrated by that. A quick tip from a guest, Jim McCarthy, who I also find quite entertaining from Counterpoint Strategies, because he has his own clear perspective and he's not going to change. And I love that fact about him. Jim mentioned during one of the CommsQuestionTime shows about a book called The Power of Glamour, Longing and the Art of Visual Persuasion. We were discussing at the time the marketing of chocolate, but the book he mentioned, he said in the context of explaining why we're interested in glamour, and we were talking with the chocolate about how to make it a high-end brand and all that. You know, why are we interested in glamour and celebrities and in visual images? And in short, the book kind of basically is saying that glamour distracts us from our lives with a feeling of, I wish I had that. So it actually lifts us out through a bit of jealousy. But then we have a dopamine kick because we kind of imagine if we had that. So it's an aspirational escape mixed with a bit of fear and a bit of longing as well, which makes it a far more powerful kind of emotion. But anyway, if you haven't seen that book yet, it might be worth taking a look at that one. Right, let's round up with the fictional scenario for this week. As I say, completely made up, but what I love about these is they really get you thinking, including me. So here we go. Just imagine this. It's a bit of a different one this week, actually. You're managing PR for a historic furniture restoration shop known for its authenticity, with wealthy clients worldwide who rely on your expertise in period accuracy. In other words, the furniture is exactly as it should be for that period. Now, a piece restored by your team is featured in a new historical TV drama. You're really excited. Great bit of exposure. But soon after the first episode airs, sharp-eyed viewers are criticising it. They argue the furniture design is far from accurate for the time period, with the shape and the finish not used for another 100 years after the show is set. Well, concerned, you consult your team, who then admit that they might have made a mistake. As usual, there's a lot of ways of approaching this, but you have to pick one of the two following options. So if you had to pick one of these, which would it be? Would it be, number one, would you issue a public statement acknowledging the error, offering a detailed explanation of the company's usual accuracy standards and reinforcing your commitment to authenticity? Or would you, number two, quietly update your website with a case study on the piece's restoration, explaining why certain design choices were made for TV? So what would you do? Would you acknowledge the error, or would you explain it away with the fact that this was made for TV and therefore some changes had to be made? I think the danger with option two, so the made for TV, is that some TV producer somewhere is going to say, no, you didn't have to design it that way, and it would have worked for the media. However, I suspect the majority of people would probably, well, your customers would probably just accept option two, and there might even be some truth in it as well. And they might even think, look, this is just, it sounds logical. They often do this stuff. Hollywood's changing facts all the time because of this. It's a credible and acceptable answer. My concern with number one is that while it may be based on what you learned, factually correct, it's actually going to do more damage. It's going to bring into question the one core point that you are known for, which is that your historical accuracy. So I really feel in this particular case that I would be going for option two. But what would you do? What do you think would be the best way of tackling this? Remember, you have to pick one of those two options. Why would you go for that one? Do let me know. You can reach me, as always, LinkedIn, Richard Midson, Midson, Midson. Okay, I think that is enough for this week. I hope you're having a really good week. Ooh, am I going to be able to do a podcast next week? I'll try my best. If not, you won't hear from me. If I do, you will. Have an awesome weekend. Speak to you soon.